Warpugs, it has been a bit since I've seen anything from Potential History. The last time I saw anything by them, it was about Girls on Panzer. And if you remember the brain-melting properties of that, I don't know exactly what to tell you. I mean, the sheer fact of the matter is, Girls on Panzer hurt my head. But today, we got Dan Sickles, the human meme. Now, there have been quite a few people in history that you could qualify as a meme machine. But Dan Sickles is not one that I would think would go under that category. But then again, I don't know that much about him. We're about to find out, though. Potential History is going to inform us why this person deserves the coveted title of the meme machine. We're going to jump right into it. Guys, if you have not subscribed to Potential History, do so. The synopsis for Girls on Panzer, check it out. Like, 100% check it out. It is on the channel. It hurts. It hurts. I think I also checked out his one about the Kantai collection. The Kantai collection. Oh my god, this is the first actual thing that isn't anime-based that you guys have recommended. Because everything else has had anime girls as either warships or tanks. Oh my god, what's wrong with my community? Anyhow, Warpugs, check the links in the description below. Let's get into it.
This time I've got something I know you can do.
Ooh.
We're gonna
Deploy our troops.
Easy. Now you try.
Okay.
Lift your...
Core.
Great. We're almost there. Now put it
In the line.
No, the
Line.
the
Line.
the
Line. Line.
the
Line. The line. The line. The line. The line. The line.
Almost there. Now head for the
Line.
cold. Warmer. 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 You're hot. You're on fire.
A direct cannonball hit severs his leg.
Oh.
Real quick before this video starts, it is sponsored by Raid
Shadow Legends.
Last step in becoming a real YouTuber. Raid has taken over the App Store with hordes of downloads and positive reviews for everything from its standout graphics above similar games and well-written story that isn't just Wheel of Fortune fantasy tropes. Raid
Okay.
contains many game modes, including PvP for Zoomers, Campaign for Doomers, Clan boss battles to play casually with friends, and arena battles to test those friendships in with
There you
constant
go.
updates and over 10 million players online, in case you just don't have any friends. Play both on mobile or desktop with hundreds of customizable champions to pick from, like my go-to thick boy here, or when I'm feeling more graceful, this lady who has very large weapons. Click the link in
Weapons.
the description, and if you're a new player, you'll get 100,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 day XP
I need more of these.
booster, and
Actually, I'm just waiting for more gamer. I'm waiting for my gamer subs to come in. I ran out, and it is sad.
one free champion. You'll find those rewards right here whenever you want to pick them up, and they will be available for 30 days. Hey you play Raid yet? Why are you yeeting your troops into enemy fire, having to put up with real-world consequences, when you can yeet your Raid characters into a digital enemy and actually win?
Hello all.
Hello.
Welcome to a new series titled Human Memes.
Okay.
Although I really hope I come up with a better title before this thing actually goes live, but right now that's all I can.
Don't worry about it. I have been arguing with myself nonstop over... Do you realize how long it took me to come up with 5-ish minute lore? FML, fuck... You guys realize how long it took me to do that?
This series will
I
be
get it, bro.
exploring some very interesting historical figures.
Okay.
Not just people that are funny, although there will be those people. Also people who are interesting, have various quirks, are funny. And today, we're going to be talking about the life, actually not just the life, like a few events, because there's so much shit, of a man who made himself famous during the American Civil War. You hear that noise? That's the sound of all the European viewers clicking off because they heard American Civil War and they don't care.
There you go.
And the person we'll be talking about today is Daniel Sickles, who is either the luckiest moron to ever exist, or someone just playing 5D chess, just stuff that we can't even comprehend.
Very, very large brain.
Dan Sickles was born in 1819, although it's oftentimes said he was born in 1825. He was not born in 1825, although it's thought that he lied about his birthday quite often for reasons we'll get into in a second.
Okay.
He's a very well-connected person, learning the printer's trade, and studying law at NYU. Admitted to the bar in 1846. But we're not here for the basic fact stuff.
Okay.
We're here for the weird stuff.
Let's
and
go.
The weird stuff started very early in Dan Sickles' life. Dan Sickles was a very eccentric person, and throughout this story, when you're wondering if it gets weirder, it definitely does. And we're
My God, these are the best stories. Proceed, good sir.
going to focus on two events, a murder and a Civil War battle. While studying law, he actually moved in with and got very close to one of his professors who had an infant daughter.
That's why I do this. I don't do this because I have wild hair. I had to do this because I'm bald.
That Dan Sickles knew for her entire life. At 16 years old, when he was in his 30s, he married her, which is probably why he lied about his age. Other escapades in his young life include, while being married, striking up a relationship with a prostitute, and when on a trip to England on official business, almost introducing her to the Queen, which would have caused a huge scandal. He was apparently
What?
pulled away before being able to do so,
Dude, what?
but the woman did curtsy at the Queen. It was quite the affair. On the same trip, during a ball celebrating the 4th of July, Dan Sickles wasn't a huge fan of celebrating Independence Day with the British. So as the toast for the night was being made to the Queen, he decided to, instead of observe the toast, sit down in front of a small painting of George Washington and completely refuse to recognize the occasion. He was promptly thrown out of England. Upon returning home, though,
Dude, you just... They're rolling out every courtesy at that point. They're rolling out every courtesy. It's not that many places that you're going to go to at any point in time, like even today, and have somebody celebrate, like, be perfectly fine with you celebrating them losing a war to you. I'm not sure what the hell was the thought process and why the neurons weren't firing in the skull. But if a country is going to be willing to do that for you, shut up and deal with it. Just... That is asinine.
though, he was a national hero because people weren't big fans of the British still. He was elected to New York State Senate and then elected to the U.S. Congress, all while having multiple affairs and having a lot of it get into the newspapers. Now, I'm just kind of rapid firing these scenarios and these stories to you because I want you to get a general idea of who this guy is before we get into the real stories. And the first of the two I want
The
to
real
tell
stories
is about how he murdered somebody and got away with it.
Okay.
For all his womanizing and everything to do with that, historians do think that he really did love his wife. His underage wife, be it. He was very protective of her, and he really did care about her. However, being gone so often, his wife Teresa was pretty lonely at home, and she eventually ended up striking up a relationship with Philip Barton Key, the son of Francis Scott Key, the national hero. It's said that every day when Francis wanted to meet with Teresa, he would go outside of the Sickles residence and he would wave a handkerchief. And later on, the couple would meet in a park or somewhere else. That was the way that they it was the way that they communicated. And an anonymous friend of Dan Sickles, and one of the rare times that he was not abroad or out in Washington, sent him a letter informing him of the affair, telling him all the details and everything of all the handkerchief waving. And in one of the following days, what did he see outside his window? But Philip Barton, outside his house, waving a handkerchief. In a storm of rage, Dan Sickles burst out of his house, waving a gun, and began chasing Mr. Key down the street. And I think you know where this is going, but when he caught up to him, he shot him dead. He actually didn't shoot him dead. He eventually died of his wounds, but he first shot him in the chest, and then once he was down, he walked up to him and attempted to execute him, but the gun misfired. He couldn't. But it's 1859, so like, you get shot, you're gonna die, if the doctor doesn't kill you afterwards. However,
Right.
this is not where the story gets interesting.
Okay.
Because Sickles was obviously arrested, and he was going to be tried for his crimes, and knowing that this happened in broad daylight, people saw him, he was going to need a fairly creative defense to get out of it. In a creative defense he found, with his dream team of lawyers, they decided to plead temporary insanity. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of a court case where somebody pleads temporary insanity or being temporarily just not themselves, but this is actually the first instance in recorded history where this was attempted. And because it hadn't been before, it was kind of up in the air if the jury was gonna fall for this. However, Sickles kind of stacked the deck because he pulled in every political favor he possibly could, including having President Buchanan himself come into the courtroom and shake Dan Sickles' hand right in front of the jury, basically showing everyone that the president respects this man, likes this man, is friends with this man, and very much tainting the jury pool very quickly.
Yeah.
And due to this...
Dude, there's going to be very, very few things. Like, imagine if you're just sitting in there and Trump or Biden walks in. That might actually not go well for you. Never mind.
combination of events, his temporary insanity plea did get him off the hook, being the first of probably not that many temporary insanity pleas. Now, this is all kind of a weird event and something you don't hear about every day, but really this is all that history would remember Dan Sickles for.
Okay.
And he probably would have been mostly forgotten to this day if it was not for a minor conflict that began in 1861. Upon the beginning of the American Civil War, states were required to raise troops for the defense of the Union and to tame the South. And oftentimes the way that this was done is a fairly influential person, such as maybe a previous congressman or state senator, would go around and he would recruit troops under his banner, and then he would get an automatic military commendation. In doing this, Dan Sickles became a corps commander in the Army of the Potomac. No, he had not done anything in the military previously. Yes, this is how they used to work. And as you would expect,
it really is frighteningly stupid. And it's a wonder that more people didn't die. Because to be honest with you, the way the military used to work is if you took a college class, you must be a distinguished gentleman. Here's 100 men to command. And it didn't matter if you were an idiot, a psychopath, or an idiot psychopath.
quite a few interesting stories from him throughout the American Civil War, being such a unique person as he was. But the biggest one, and the one he is most remembered for, happens at the Battle of Gettysburg. Now, one thing that's often not remembered about the Union Army during the war, or has kind of been forgotten as time has passed, is the great amount of politics involved in the command of the Army of the
Massive.
Potomac. Everyone in the Union Army knew each other, all the high-ranking officers, whether they had previously been in the military and served before and knew each other from that, or if they were in Sickles' position, had previously been politicians or other men of influence, knew each other from before the war that way. And Sickles, along with many other Union commanders in kind of a clique, was very good friends with a certain General Hooker. Hooker was the general of the Army of the Potomac before George Gordon Meade took over literally right before the Battle of Gettysburg, and they were very close. So when Hooker was forced out, he did not take to Meade too kindly.
No.
In fact, you could pretty much say he was trying to undermine him from day one. And one of the ways he tried to do this in the most dramatic fashion was with his actions on July 2nd.
What the fuck is that?
Sickles' Corps was positioned on the southern end of the Union line, roughly here on the map. And he was told by George Meade to straddle these hills and take up this position, and he was told to be here. And for lots of reasons that historians still debate about to this day, Sickles decided to move his troops up to here. Now, it's really unclear.
Oh my god, so that's, yeah, okay. Oh, good God almighty.
Whether he misunderstood Meade's orders, was trying to do this just to be a dick, or if he thought that the position that he was at was not really that suitable and thought he would move forward to better align himself because Meade wasn't there and wasn't seeing the terrain.
Right.
Either way, he essentially created a gigantic hole in the Union line that when Meade was informed about this, immediately sent multiple runners to tell him to move back up the hill and take the position he told him to.
Right.
When he did, Sickles basically sent back a bunch of nonsense replies, kind of dancing around the issue in hilarious fashion. Meade eventually got so fed up with the song and dance that he himself went to Sickles and told him, "No, your men are supposed to be there," clearly pointing out on the field where his men were supposed to be and asking him, very annoyed, why he had moved his men forward. And in a situation that you just can't make up, apparently right as Meade was pointing to the position that Sickles was supposed to be in, the first Confederate cannon blast of Longstreet's attack rang out over the hills. Meade quickly jumped on his horse and I assume said something like, "You better not fuck this up," and rode off to go plug the hole in the Union line. Although it would be great to say Sickles saw something on the field that Meade didn't, and his move turned out to be a stroke of genius, it was not. His core was completely chewed up.
Large brain.
Sickles himself lost.
Hold on a second. Let me see this.
Was not. His core.
Prominent role, acting against orders, virtually demolished and had to be reinforced. His loss to Gettysburg were 578 killed. Oh, good God. That's nearly... He had a full core?
Core was completely chewed up.
Large brain.
Sickles himself lost a leg when it was crushed by a cannonball while he was riding his horse, and his entire command suffered heavy casualties. In
Go
fact,
figure.
reserves were only just able to be brought up behind his shattered core before they retreated to make sure that the Confederates didn't just overrun the Union line. Dan
Right.
Sickles did survive the war, though. In fact, his leg is currently in the Smithsonian Museum, and it was actually put there while he was still alive. Apparently, when the exhibit opened, he was being taken around, and the entire time he wouldn't shut up about he wanted the tour group to go see his leg. Upon seeing his leg, he was very upset that his foot was not part of the femur bone that was in the exhibit, because of course he was. Now, this is a very brief overview of all things to do with Dan Sickles, and I only really went into 2 stories, and you can go into them deeper. Civil War historians have actually really debated Sickles' motivations.
Wait a minute. What happened? Did it get cut off or something? I'm wondering what happened because it just cut off so suddenly there. No, that's it. Oh, I'm kind of surprised by that. Okay. I guess that's the end. War Pugs. Imagine posting a video with a smooth, well put together ending. This post was made by the abrupt mid-sentence ending gag. Oh, good lord. This guy, War Pugs, this is the perfect example of somebody that should never have been put in command of anybody. He should have been put in command of a Boy Scout troop, much less men going into combat. The sheer fact, the sheer fact that his core being absolutely destroyed isn't more well known is because probably of 2 facts. 1, the Confederates lost, and 2, there is a much biggest loser out of all of that battle, and that would be Pickett and his entire division being destroyed. War Pugs, I gotta tell you, some of those scenes come from a movie called Gettysburg that was made. It was a made-for-TV movie, and if you guys really want to watch something that is just actually impressive to see, Martin Sheen plays Robert E. Lee in that, and everybody in that show, everybody in that movie is a reenactor. Every single one of them is a reenactor. And I remember when it was supposed to come, there was 2 things: Gods and Generals, and then Gettysburg. And Martin Sheen was playing the actual Robert E. Lee, and when he came riding out on his horse, it was the first day he had been on set, and the reenactors went nuts over this guy. I mean, they went nuts, and it's something that they kept on filming, and Martin Sheen was actually very alarmed by this. He didn't know how to feel, he didn't know what to do, but apparently the reenactors really got into it. They were really into it, and they would bring their own gear, all this other kind of stuff. Now, of course, it isn't, there's a lot that isn't shown, the pure brutality of that war, things of that nature, but the biggest thing that comes out of there is you get to see some of the absolute best moments on the battle that really I'd say it turned the tide for the Union. And in a lot of ways, it really did turn the tide for the Union in terms of how the war was progressing and how it was being seen both at home and abroad. Gettysburg was the first the first and only time the Confederates actually invaded the Northern Territories, and the loss that they took at Gettysburg. Some of the stories that you hear coming out of there, like there's this one. I'm being reminded of this guy right now, and I'm gonna have to look him up after this, but he was one of the first Medal of Honor winners from the battle that was awarded, and he was leading a regiment from Maine, and they were holding one part of the Union line. I think they were holding the extreme edge of the Union line, and quite literally they shot off every round they had, and at the end they simply countercharged the Confederates with bayonets. It was a brutal battle. Gettysburg was only second to Antietam. War Pugs, I'm gonna head out from here. Dan Sickles, you absolute mad lad, what in the world is wrong with you? Can you please tell me why you were like this? Bringing a prostitute in to meet the Queen, and then rejecting the hospitality of a foreign nation which you defeated in war is not really a good idea. God, that was stupid. That was uncouth. Anyhow, I'm gonna head out from here. Check out the links in the description below. All the potential history links are gonna be down there, including my own. Join the channel as a member or join as a Patreon. I will see you guys next time. And now I'm gonna go slam my head in a corridor because damn, this guy was something special.